Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live match preview show on Football Tour Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Now, you know the saying, no rest for the wicked, and that's literally what's happening right now as Liverpool have a game this Sunday against Fulham. It's at Craven Cottage, not the best of stadiums for us in terms of picking up results, but we go again, and let's hope we can get all 3 points this weekend. So, what we'll do during the show, we'll analyze our opponents in terms of their recent form. We'll also assess some of the comments made by Arne Slot in his press conference, which can be a tough watch at times, but it has to be done. Then I'll present the team news, predicted lineups, and also the score predictions. So let's start by assessing our opponents in Fulham Football Club. So they are currently in 12th position in the league, played 19 games, 8 wins, 3 draws, 8 defeats. But in the last 5 games, they've picked up form. 3 wins, which included a 3-2 win against Burnley, a 1-0 win against Forest, and a 1-0 win against West Ham. And then they faced Crystal Palace twice in the last month or so. The last fixture was a 1-1 draw, and in the fixture last month, it was a 2-1 victory for the Eagles. So they have picked up some form, I guess. So it's probably not a good time to play them, especially away from home. But that's how it goes. Now, in terms of Liverpool, we all know our current situation where, we've not lost in about 7, 8 games, but that doesn't really paint the picture in terms of where we are as a team. It doesn't mean that we are playing glorious football or anything to that nature. What we're doing is we're picking up points, and we're quite frankly, we've been quite lucky in some games. So some will see it as progress, some will see it as slow progress. I'm more of the latter. I don't think we've made any large improvements in the way we play, and that's a big concern for me in terms of the long term picture. But in terms of Arne Slot's press conference, you know, I did say this previously. I do find his press conferences a tough watch, just because in terms of the way he speaks, and I quite frankly think he's quite deluded at times. His season assessment was that the team started really well in terms of results. And then there was a phase where games were very close, but we were very unlucky. So he's referring to those constant defeats that we had. I wouldn't say we were unlucky. We were just absolutely shocking as a team. So that's not down to luck. That's down to us not playing to our abilities. And then he said recently that we haven't, or we've hardly conceded many chances against teams in the last 7, 8 games, which is complete BS. But he's also said that it's clear that we find it hard to generate enough chances for all the ball possession we have. So that's another part of his delusion, because just because you are a team that focuses on ball possession, that doesn't equal to goals. Ball possession is literally just you passing the ball around. There's teams where they do play that way, but it's just to keep away from the team in terms of being attacked. So that's you playing sideways passes, but there's nothing progressive in the play in the way that we play, especially this season. So it's all good and well having possession, but if we're not actually doing forward passes and trying to score, it makes no difference. So he's trying to sugarcoat it. I'm seeing it quite clearly, but obviously he's winning some fans over with these kind of statements. I'm not buying it at all. And he's also said that the players are doing everything in their power to create goals, but sometimes you need a bit of magic to unlock a game or a set piece. Which, yes, I agree to an extent, but it can't always be a moment of magic to unlock a game. Most parts of the season, you have to create your own luck, or you have to work as a team and create your chances and finish it off. That's what you call a high level brand of football. We don't play that at all. We haven't played that this season. So by saying we need a bit of magic, yes, in games where you're facing against an equal opponent, but I don't think I want us to produce moments of magic against a team like Wolves that are bottom of the table. Like that's a bit that's the part where I'm like, now you're just being silly now, because we don't need moments of magic to beat a team in the relegation zone against Arsenal, Chelsea, Man Cities. Yes, in those teams that are competing for the title, yes, that's when you need a moment of brilliance, like Sabozlai produced against Arsenal early in the season. That's what I think he might be referring to. But we can't produce those moments every game, and we don't need to do it against respectively lower level teams in the Premier League. So yeah, I always find his comments very, very unamusing in terms of the way he communicates. But that's his persona. That's the way he talks. And in terms of our opponents, he said that hmm, he expects a different game from Fulham. They will attack based on Marco Silva's philosophy, so it will be an open game. Last time he faced Fulham, Liverpool lost, which is crazy. We lost 3-2 in April earlier this year. Oh, sorry, I said last year. We're in 2026 now. So you're not a great record, I guess, in recent times. In terms of Aaron Briggs, who he spoke about, said that I want to thank him for his 1.5 years that we worked together because he's been a part and a big part of us winning the league last season. And he kept on banging on saying that he's a very good human being and a good young English coach. The very good human being kind of resembles when Brendan Rodgers would say that someone's got character. That was his favorite phrase. It kind of aligns to me a little bit in terms of the way he spoke there. But there's no news in terms of finding his replacement. So hopefully, we find uh, an adequate replacement for Ambrose, because I'm not saying he's the sole reason why we've been poor in terms of conceding set pieces, but I feel like we need a new direction in terms of that aspect of our game. I think in terms of long term picture, I think the coach is also the problem where we're not playing to our strengths, and that's my biggest concern going forward. But we can talk about that in due course. So what we'll do, we'll present the team news, and then I'll also go through some of the comments. So in terms of team news, for Fulham, who are the home team, of course, Tete is unavailable due to a hamstring injury, and there's also a few players on the sidelines with the likes of Josh King, Ryan Sessegnon, and Rodrigo Muniz. And you've also got Chukwueze, Iwobi, and Bassi unavailable due to their participation in AFCON. And for Liverpool, Joe Gomez is available as he had trained today, I believe, but Wataru Endo is not available for his fixture. Wirtz has been nursing a hamstring injury in recent days, so he's not been ruled out completely, but Slot has said that he needs to be managed correctly. So that could indicate that Wirtz might be on the bench or he might not be in the squad altogether. I very highly doubt that he will start tomorrow. And in terms of other players, Isak and Leone remain on the sidelines. And Salah, of course, is unavailable as he is playing for Egypt at AFCON. So let's go through the comments before we present the predicted lineups. Excuse me. Ozan, Big Ozan says Arsenal are going to win the Prem on the Aussie. So annoying. I think that I don't want them to win the league. I would like it to be Man City, to be honest with you. But I think Arsenal will get the Premier League that they've been waiting for a long time. So yes, I think they will win the league this season. Ozan says their fan base is going to be unbearable all summer. You say all summer, they're going to be unbearable for years and years. They're that kind of fan base. So we'll never hear the end of it, unfortunately. But you know, that's probably our own fault for allowing them to get to the stage. But hey, that's how it goes sometimes. Uh, Bo says, big up Ozzy, big up Bo, hope you're well. He's also said there's now 5 players who have talked about Slot as a bad manager. When will the board see the thing everyone sees? I haven't seen anything in regards to players speaking about the manager in a bad manner. So if you have any not receipts, but if you have anyone reliable that's presenting these comments, let me know in the chat and I'll try and get them up on the screen, especially if they're on Twitter. But I haven't seen anything to that nature. Also, why don't the Maka and Curtis interview get the same attention as the Salah one? Aussie, everyone wants Slot out. The Mac one, I'm not too sure which we're from. The Curtis one, I think that was against PSV. He was quite direct, but I think Salah's interview was a bit more personal towards the coach. Jones was speaking more about the performances, if that makes sense. So he spoke more of from a footballing point of view rather than a personal attack on Arne Slot. So it's very, very different in regards to that. Um, And also, I want to give my flowers to Rob Edwards and Wolves for giving 18-year-old Mane game time, and he has delivered game after game, and now got his first goal and win for Wolves. Youth deserves games. Uh, I look at it completely different, but if that's your point of view, that's fair. Um, Rob Edwards had no choice but to play Mane because they have a lot of injuries in their squad. But in terms of the game time that he's received, it's definitely deserved. He looks like a very talented player, and for him to get his first goal and first win for Wolves, it's of course a huge moment. But you're saying youth deserves games. You have to put context into. I know we're always going to have this debate because you feel like youth players should just be playing every week. But that's not how I see the game. And I gave you some examples yesterday. So if you're not going to understand those examples, that's all good and well. In this scenario, the coach had no choice but to play Mane because he didn't have any other options, and it's taken them about 4 or 5 months to get their first win. So I'm not trying to discredit the player. Of course, that's not his fault, but that was a situation that they had no choice but to play him. It wasn't by choice. Mane didn't play on the first game of the season. He's just played in recent weeks. So put some context. But in terms of the player, I love it when young players are being given opportunities and they are, achieving success on the pitch. I have no qualms about that. But I feel like you're trying to insinuate something else. But that's your opinion. I'm not gonna delve into that too much. Um, Hopefully, Harris will do us a favor, banging 2 or 3 goals. If you are supporting the other side, that's on you, Bo. I know you don't like the coach, but I would never want my team to lose ever. Doesn't matter who the manager is. I would not stoop to that level. For me, I always want Liverpool to win, and when they do win, I'm always going to praise the team, and I'm going to praise the coach in that regards. But I don't ever want to say I want my team to lose. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But I would never do that. Both City will win the Premier League. I hope so. I really do. I really I really can't stand the fact that Arsenal would win the league because I have a lot of Arsenal friends, um, and I'll never hear the end of it, quite frankly. So yeah, I would like that to be the case, but I'm not sure. I think they are winning games and not performing to their highest ability, and as you know, that is a sign of champions, unfortunately. So let's see. Salah, Curtis, Maka, Morton, and Kwanzaa. I've never heard of Morton, Kwanzaa say anything. Maka, I can't recall. Curtis, I would assume you mean the PSV game, and Salah. And Morton and Kwanzaa are not even at the club anymore. So I feel like that's a bit irrelevant. And the club are not just going to sack someone based on what a few players have to say. Because those players may have faced you know, an effect after those comments. Kwanzaa's not here. Might be because he made those comments. Morton is not here. Maybe because of those comments. So you mentioned 2 players there, and I've said to you this in the past. These are professionals. So if they go against the grain, there will be consequences. And that might have been the consequence where they had to leave the club. So if you thought that was a good thing that they spoke up, look where they are right now. I'm not saying they're in terrible clubs. They are still playing at respectable clubs, but they're not playing for local football clubs. So it may have come at a cost. So if you're applauding that, that's up to you. But that's not something I would encourage young players or any player to do because it affects their position in the team. Maka said we have changed too much and wants to keep things to himself to not get in trouble in an interview with Sky today. I haven't seen that, so I'll have to look into that. If that is the case, I will talk about it tomorrow if it needs to be done. But I'll definitely check out. I haven't seen any interviews from McAllister today. So let's move on and do the predicted lineups. So we'll start with the Fulham team. They've pretty much got not all the players, but they've got 3 players out at AFCON right now. Tete would have been their first choice right back. They've got Josh King, who's definitely made a name for himself this season. Ryan Sessegnon has rediscovered his form, being back at his old club, and Rodrigo Muniz has, whenever called upon, scored some important goals. So they are missing some players, but I still feel like they've got a good enough team. So let's try and fill the gaps and add the players into the lineup. So in goal, it will be Leno, and to replace Tete, it would be Castagna. who for me is a very good player, a comfortable player as a left back or right back. But in this time, he will be playing as a right back, and then you got Robinson as a left back, and then you got Cuenca on the left hand side alongside Anderson. In your double pivot, you've got Lukic, you've got Sander Berger, Kevin, who's a bit of a live one. He's definitely someone we're gonna have to watch out for in this game. There he is, Kevin, and a former red in Harry Wilson, and in that number 10, excuse me, in that number 10 role, we've got Smith Rowe, who does have his moments in a Fulham shirt. So maybe up against a big team like Liverpool, he steps up. So we've got to keep aware of him in this game. And then it would have been Rodrigo Muniz, but I think they are going to go for Raul Jimenez. So this is my predicted lineup for Fulham now in terms of in terms of any sort of danger men in this team. It has to be Harry Wilson. He's always performed at a good rate. I think he's one of those players where he's got some very interesting skill sets. Can score set pieces, has a great left-footed finish, can play on the right, so provides that kind of different dimension for these type of teams. So he's definitely one to look out for. And playing against his former team, might want to prove a point, even though it's been a long time since he departed from the club. Smith Rowe, definitely a player that steps up when required, so he needs to be looked at. Kevin is an interesting player, live wire Brazilian winger, uh, plenty of flair and skill on that left hand side, so we need to look out for him. Um, and Raul Jimenez, very much experienced in terms of how he plays. So for me, it's someone that we have to keep an eye on because he will present a physical presence. And he might not be as prolific as he used to be, especially during his Wolves days. But it's one of those things where you still have to manage type of player. And because our defense has been quite shaky, um, those are the type of players that we do struggle against. Physical strikers that like to get into those type of battles. So we have to make sure we're on top of our game. In terms of the rest, Lukic and Sanderberger, they're not easy on the eye type players, but they are definitely industrious. So they will make it very difficult. And that's going to be a battle for our midfield to make sure that, we're not getting overpowered and we're actually dominant in the middle of the park. And in terms of the defense, Anderson, he's a player that can create from the back line. Robinson is an all-round fullback, so he needs to be marked out because he has fantastic delivery from that left-hand side, and Castagna the same as well. So, excuse me. So very strong players here, but nonetheless, I do expect Liverpool to get a result at Craven Cottage. Whether it's a win or not, we'll confirm that in due course. Now let's move on and present the Liverpool lineup. So let's have a look here. So there we go. We've got the Liverpool lineup. So 4-2-3-1 formation. Um, Now in terms of the goalkeeper, Allison, I don't think that's a huge debate there. Now the big question will be, do we bring back Robertson into the team or do we stick with Kirkes? I would probably stick with Kirkes to be fair. So I think Kirkes will play in the team. On the right hand side, it's going to be a battle between Bradley and Frimpong. I'm going to give the nod to Frimpong just because I feel like he's been a bit better in the last couple of games, and I feel like he'll give us a different dimension on that right hand side. And I would start with Konate and Van Dijk as your centre back pairings. In your double pivot, I'm going to go with Gravenberch and Curtis Jones because they formed a great partnership recently, so I'm not going to disrupt that. And in this scenario, put Szoboszlai on the right hand side with not my choice, but this is what I'm predicting Scott will do. McAllister in that number 10 role, and I believe Gakpo will return to the lineup, even though I would probably give Rio and Gamoa a chance to start this game. I think he would be a fantastic opponent for Castagna, and I think he would definitely cause havoc on that left hand side. But I'm going with what I think Slot will do, and I think he will go Gakpo. My personal choice would be to start Rio, and why not? We don't have too many options on the left hand side, so why not give the kid a chance? But I don't think that's going to happen. And Ekitike starts through the middle. So this is my predicted lineup. Just got a couple comments here from Steve. We got to see this slot in. Yeah, I don't you think you are slotting, Steve, based on what you've said the last few weeks. But I hope you're doing well. Now, in terms of the score predictions, I don't feel confident about this one. If I'm being brutally honest, I think this is a game where you'd assume that it plays to our strengths because Fulham aren't going to play the ugly football, which I'm referring to as in long balls and complete low blocks. I think they will be defensively set up, but I still think they will play good attacking football. So it might be an open game to an extent, but I don't think it will be I don't think it will be from minute one to the last minute. I don't think it'll be that kind of game. It's not going to be a basketball type of game. It's end to end stuff. So I think they'll be very compact, and at the same time, I think they will definitely cause us an issue in terms of attack, the way they play, and I feel like they've got some players that could definitely cause us an issue tomorrow. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, which I know is not the scoreline most of us want to hear, but that is my prediction. And in terms of the goal scorers, I'm expecting Wilson to score for Fulham, but I'm also expecting Ekitike to equalize or get the equal score for the Reds there. So that's my score prediction. Before we move on, just got a couple comments, and then we will talk about one transfer rumor that's been circulating today, plus some updates in regards to our squad. Uh, Steve says, "Them man always give us a hard time at the cottage." Yeah, they do. The last time we faced them, they beat us 3-2. So yeah, they've always given us issue at the cottage. Small ground, small pitch in the Premier. I think they are. I know the Vitality Center is quite small as well, but I think in terms of the ground and the pitch, I think it is Craven Cottage. So that's always going to be a difficult one, to be fair. Just got a comment from Bo says, "Oh, I hope you understand that we are having a debate, not a fight. I still love to challenge you. Nothing but respect from my side. Hopefully, you don't hate me." Oh no, excuse me. I don't know what's going on here. No. I hope you've not taken any of my sort of comments as offense. Maybe it's just the way I talk. I do speak a bit directly at times. But no, I've not taken anything in terms of disrespect from your point of view. And I have treated it as a debate more than anything else. That's why I have presented your comments on the screen. So no, there's no there's no issues at all, and I don't mind having these sort of debates on the show. So no, I do appreciate your engagement and I appreciate your support of the channel. Uh, so I did mention transfer to nothing too crazy in terms of transfer. It's just one rumor that has been circulating today, and that is regarding Adam Wharton. So what we're hearing today is that Crystal Palace want to get Adam Wharton to sign a new deal and keep him at Palace. If that doesn't happen, there's a gentleman agreement for about 60 to 65 million pounds that Wharton could go if a Champions League club come calling. There will, however, be no movement in January. And this is according to Ben Jacobs. Now, My thoughts on the player. Do I think, and of course this is the question for you guys, or do you think Wharton is the right player for Liverpool Football Club? For me, I would say yes. He's not the complete enforcer or the destroyer of a midfield. He's not that profile of a player, but he's definitely a competent number six. He's a player that can definitely, defend for the team in terms of pretending covering the back line and being an enforcer to an extent. But I think what he brings to the table is the ability of being a deep playmaker for the team. And that's something we lack. And I don't want to pinpoint certain players, but like Wataru Endo, for example, he does the defensive stuff really well. But his playmaking ability is a bit limited. There's only so much he can do with the ball. Wharton excels in that area. And I feel like as he gains more experience, I think he can become the complete midfielder. You know, that's how people are talking about Declan Rice right now. I think he can surpass that level personally if he continues to progress the way he is right now. So for me, Wharton would be top of my list if I'm being brutally honest. That would be the sign that I would really like Liverpool to make this coming summer. And the fee is quoted to be around 60 to 65 million, which is not a lot. I don't think in this current transfer market, and I don't mean to be cheeky when I say this, but we have a lot of work to do even to get into this conversation because it says that a Champions League club come calling. Now, we need to qualify for the Champions League first. Yes, we're in around the area right now, but will we be there at the end of the season? I don't know. I really don't know. So it's one of those things where let's see as time goes on where we are. Um, but in terms of the player, let's just think about the room. Let's not think about where we're going to finish because I don't know where we're going to finish. If I'm being honest, I would love for me to say top four, but I can't say that with a lot of conviction. If I'm being honest with you, and let's say we do qualify for the Champions League, then yes, this is the profile of a player we need. And some would say we missed out on that type of profile with Zubimendi. Well, I think he will cover that base, but I think he has a lot more to present than what Zubimendi can produce on the pitch, in my opinion. So yeah, so I would be one that would definitely co-sign this signing for the summer. I don't expect it to happen in January. Definitely not. Let's just hope there's no Pilates session booked for Steve Parish because this deal needs to get done early in the summer rather than towards the latter stages. So yeah, let's hope there is some truth to the rumor because I do really like the look of Wharton. But I'm sure he's one of many players that we have on our shortlist. Bo's comment to say Alexis McCusker on how he has struggled. Many things change, as I said, new players coming to replace those who left. We changed too many things, but I prefer to keep it to myself. And you said that is from the Anfield sector, I believe. Um, I'll have to watch the interview, and I'm not saying, I'm not believing what you're saying in terms of the quote there. So I did see something online today where he commented on a post of Darwin Nunes saying how much he missed him. So I think he's missing his former South American colleagues, if that makes sense. Like, the likes of Diaz and Darwin Nunes, they were probably would have been very close mates being South American. And I think that is what I think that's what might be one of the reasons why he said that, oh, we've done too much too soon. Um, but of course, he might even be speaking in terms of the squad, which I understand, but there was a lot of areas that needed to be addressed. We let go of Trent. Well, he signed for Real Madrid, so a right back needed to be added. Tsimikas went out on loan, so we got Kirkes in his place in terms of the squad. Um, Leone came in as a young prospect into our squad. to replace Kwanzaa, quite frankly, and then Ekitike came in to replace. Actually, that's not the right word, but you know, rest in peace, Diogo Jota. Of course, is not with us right now, but there was a space in the squad, so we needed to add another striker. Isak came in to replace Darwin Nunes. So and Luis Diaz, in my opinion, was not replaced. But if we're gonna add a name, I guess that would be Rio and Gomorrah. So as you can tell, players weren't just bought to overload the squad. They were bought to replace players that had left. So that's the key thing there. So I don't think we did too much too soon. I think from his personal point of view, he's probably just missing his mates. And that's how I'm looking at it. So could that be the reason why he hasn't played well? I don't think that's a good enough excuse personally. Um, but let's see. Let's see what happens with McAllister because I don't think he has a long term future at the club personally. I think he could be moved on in the summer. Um, in my opinion, I would want that to happen because I don't think he's good enough anymore. I've seen a lot of lapses in his game, and I feel like we need to replace him with a different profile altogether. Oh, Adam Wharton would be great because he still provides the technical aspect of the game like McAllister does, but I think he can do the defensive duty really well. And I also think Wharton would add a great balance playing alongside Gravenberg in the team. So this would be my choice. If I had a dream signing to present, it has to be Shuameni. Shuameni Gravenberg would be a formidable partnership, but I think I'm in dreamland to think Shuameni would just leave Real Madrid like that. Uh, so his honest thoughts on this Ordinez kid. So I've watched bits of him this season in terms of Club Bruges. Not a lot, to be fair. I've seen more compilations. They're not. If I'm being brutally honest with you guys, I think he looks like a very good defender. Um, he looks comfortable on the ball. He can carry the ball really well. Strong, dominant, physical in the dual battles. Can play on the left side or on the right side of a centre back position. So he's not one dimensional in that regards. Uh, I think he can play in the back three or in the back four, depending on what side we go with. So I think he would be a very good signing for us. And he's one of those players where he's not quite ready to start week in, week out, but I do feel like he is the perfect third choice centre back to have in your squad, i.e., someone that can be called upon and play important games. Might not be week in, week out, but definitely challenge the first two choice centre backs and give them a run for their money. So I feel like he would be a good signing for us. And I feel like if we don't pursue, like the current rumor is that we've already returned, which I'm pleased about, and I hope that is very true. But Liverpool, I don't want them to miss out on these type of talents because we were linked with Pacho last year, and he went over to PSG, and he's of course Ecuadorian as well. And we had opportunities to sign the likes of Caicedo when he was in South America. So when you get these type of talents available, and you think they can definitely add to your team, it's best to get ahead of the curve. So I think signing Ordenes would be the right profile for us to go for. And I would say in the summer we sign a more established centre back, i.e., like a Schlotterbeck. That would be my first choice in terms of a realistic signing. So I like the look of him from what I've seen. And so I hope the rumours are true. Bowles commented say, "Do you think Arizona can shine at Chelsea?" It's very hard to say. I think he's doing well at Strasbourg, but he's also at a club where I don't think they're under huge pressure. So he can definitely buy his time and add his imprint the way he wants to do it without feeling the rush to be an instant success, if that makes sense. Um, I don't know about the Chelsea job. I feel like it might be a bit too soon in terms of his development, but maybe this is something that they had planned for, where they saw his potential, but thought, you know, because of course they own Strasbourg as well, don't they? The Chelsea business group. So They thought, let's get him over to Strasbourg where he can continue his development, and then when we think the time is right to bring him at Chelsea, then we will do that. So maybe this was always a part of their plan to bring him on board at some point. Um, so I would say I'm not sure. As in my answer would probably sway more towards no, I don't think so. Um, but let's see what the situation because I'm sure we'll get some clarity in the coming days. As it won't be a long time before a new replacement comes in. Well, so why does the media say we can't buy a coach until there is no one until since there is no one out there? We literally bought Slot from final to replace Klopp. Thoughts on that, Ozzy? I think we're trying to get the best of the best. We're not trying to, you know, in terms of shopping centers, we're not shopping in Lidl. We're shopping at Harrods. Like we're trying to get the best coaches out there, and right now they're not available. Yes, in terms of your point about Slot, we got Slot um, from final. I don't know if that was his last year of his contract. I'll have to dig. I'll have to look into that. But I know he didn't have a lot of years left on his current contract. I think he might have had 1 year left. So that results to you paying less compensation. And not to sound disrespectful, but when a club like Liverpool comes knocking and you are managing a team like Feyenoord, you are most likely going to accept that Liverpool job. So we are going for the likes of Xabi Alonso. So knocking on Real Madrid's door is not going to be easy to get a player, let alone a coach. Um, who else is there? Nagelsmann, but of course, I think he would come on board if there wasn't a World Cup taking place in the next few months. So his hands are tied right now. But in the summer, I think it would be a different scenario altogether. Um, so we're trying to get those type of managers to come in. If it's someone, if it's like an Iraola, for example, I think that could be someone we could get in right away. Um, a Glasner, even though I don't want Glasner, but I think a Glasner we could as well, especially if he's made his opinions very clear that he wants to leave Palace at the end of the season. He's not willing to sign a new contract, and Iraola also has 6 months remaining in his contract. So those are two managers you can knock on the door now and get them on board. But the question is, would we be happy as fans to get either Iraola and Glasner? Out of the two, I'd prefer Iraola, but I don't know if Iraola is the guy in terms of the long term vision. I want Alonso. That's the guy that I've wanted for a very, very long time before Slot. So I'm praying and hoping we do get him one day. Uh, but let's see. In terms of Alonso, those type of managers, you can't knock on the door and just get them like that. It doesn't work like that, especially mid-season where there's a lot on the line. Of course, if Alonso was sacked, which of course there were very strong rumors in the last few weeks, then that's another conversation. But at the minute, it looks like they're happy with him and they're willing to stick with him until the rest of the season. So in the summer, it's something I'm sure we'll revisit or we'll challenge to try and get him on board. But let's see what the future holds. Balls out. Do you think the club disrespect Gerrard? Since at Chelsea United, they bring in legends as an interim, but here it seems like the club thinks they are smarter than they are. They really don't want him as interim. There's no confirmation to say that they don't want him as an interim because I've heard in the past that they do rate Gerrard as a coach, but you also have to look at his resume. I don't think he is ready to take the Liverpool job. I think he would be way too soon in terms of what he's achieved so far in his career. And there's only some players turn coach slash managers become instant hits at their clubs. It doesn't happen that often. So for me, it's one of those things where I don't think he's quite ready yet. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind having Joe as an interim for the rest of the season, and then we revisit the situation again. And then, if we feel like we need to bring someone else on board, we do that. But I don't think we disrespect Gerard in that regards because he doesn't sound disrespect. Whenever he's had an interview, he's always said like, whenever Liverpool come calling or whenever they need me for anything, I am there and I am available. So that doesn't sound like someone that's disrespected to me. And in terms of Chelsea, look, let's not follow their imprint of how to recruit managers because it's not the best in my opinion. And they brought in someone like a Lampard who was a terrible manager. I know he's doing well for Coventry, but that's probably his level in my opinion. He tried to challenge the big boys. He tried to go toe to toe physically with Jurgen Klopp, like he's that guy, but he really wasn't. So when you're a manager, respect the people around you that have been doing it for a long time, and he clearly lacked it. There's been rumors of John Terry potentially being a person that comes in interim. Um, interim managers don't really work out well. Let's be honest. Man United did it with Solskjaer, and because he had a good run of games, they ended up giving a full contract, and look where that took them. So managers are always short-term solutions just to get by, and then they can revisit at the end of the season and bring in the guy that they want to come through. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I don't think we're disrespecting him, but I just feel like we're assessing options, and we just don't feel like he's a guy for the job right now. Maybe in the future, who knows? But not for right now, in my opinion. Let's move on. So not transfer related. It's more of a squad update from a Liverpool point of view. So this is from Paul Joe. So he said that Liverpool are planning to open contract talks with Ryan Gravenberch. No formal discussions have taken place as of yet, but there is eagerness to secure the future of Gravenberch's future at the club. This is very positive news because I do feel like Gravenberch is the future of Liverpool. I know he's very much an established player, but he's still very young in his career. So I'm very pleased about this because I believe there will be a lot of teams knocking on his door, wanting his services in the coming years. So if we can tie him down to a long-term contract, it puts us in a great position from a business that's financial point of view, but also from a footballing point of view, we've got a player that we can build a team around. If we were to sign proper DM, that's what I want in the team. Or I feel like it will allow him to play his natural game, which is where he could be a bit more of a box to box sort of player. So if an Adam Wharton coming, I feel like Adam Wharton could cover playing that number 6 role and then allow Groundback to roam a little bit forward. So it will only benefit. But I've been really impressed in terms of how he's adapted and transitioned into a number 6, and he's playing it in his way. He's not playing it like a Makalele. He's not playing it like a N'Golo Kante. He's playing it the Gravenberch way, the way he's playing it. So I've been impressed in terms of the way he's revolutionized this number 6 role because he's especially last season more so than not. He was by far for me the best DM in the league, and he really leveled up. I know towards the latter stage of the season, his form did dip a little bit, but I was very impressed in terms of how he performed. So for me, definitely a player that deserves a new contract and a long-term contract because he is the future of this club, in my opinion. Also, do you think some players miss the time and the Klopp Aussie? Yeah, they probably do, but as always, life goes on. You can be in a working environment and your favorite manager leaves the job to go somewhere else. You're not really going to think about him, are you? You're just or her. You're just going to continue to do your job, and that's literally it for these guys. Football is a fast-paced game, um, and you just got to roll with it. You got to move on. So they might do, and they might reflect on it, towards the latter stage of his career or after retirement, and then talk about it in more detail. But right now, they're in motion. They're in the flow of just playing week in week out. So they're not really going to think about, oh, I miss Klopp. I don't think that's going to be a thought in their mind right now. Next news is regarding Giovanni Leone. So he had an interview and expressed his views in terms of what's happened to him in recent times. So I'm just going to read it quote unquote. So he said that I never thought I got injured because someone wanted to hurt me. I believe that life was certain things in store for me, and faith brought me to this. I told myself it must have happened to make me stronger. And just that quote alone shows me his character, that he's very, very much strong-minded. He believes that there's a reason why this injury happened, and it's to make him stronger. So he's got great faith in God, and he definitely believes that there's a reason why this has happened. And I feel like he's taken it to himself to realize that look, I have to work hard. There's a reason why I'm here. And he went on to say that a team like when a team like Liverpool calls you, you find it very hard to not look at them in different eyes. I must say that every day I believe that the Premier League was the best choice. I had the support and affection of my teammates. So it also shows you there that he is very much supported. He feels like he's made the right choice to join a team like Liverpool, and he believes the Premier League is the best place to be. So very, very positive comments from Giovanni Leone. And despite being 18, 19 years of age, he's already showing me a lot of maturity at his tender age, and he's showing that he's got the right mindset, the right mentality to make that return and become stronger than ever. So that's really, really positive. And that's a very nice interview that he's presented there. Um, because some players might, go the opposite way and fall into depression, and that's understandable because there's a very impactful injury in their careers. But he's got a different mind frame. He's definitely got that winner's mentality. And I love that about his attitude. I love that about his perspective as well. So hopefully he comes back stronger than ever, and hopefully we see him next season. And the final update is in regards to James McConnell. Now, James McConnell will be returning early from his loan spell at Ajax, which was reported by James Pearce. So my thoughts on that: bit of a shame because I thought Ajax would have been a great club for him to further his development and learn more from a technical point of view. But he's only made 4 appearances this season under Heintinger, which of course was our former coach at the club. But since they've sacked him, he's barely played under the new manager, which is Fred Grimm. Um, so the loan spell hasn't worked out for him, so that's why they've cut it short, and he will be returning to the club very soon. But unfortunately, he's picked up an injury and he's not available. We don't know the time frame or the magnitude of this injury, but hopefully he's available in the next coming weeks because I think he'll be a viable option for us. And with the likes of Endo out and Bash is pretty much MIA, we do need a bit of cover for that defensive midfield role. So I think he would be a good player to have in the squad. And if whenever called upon, I would have trust in him because I do rate McConnell. In fact, unpopular opinion, I rate him more than Bastic, which might surprise a few, but I think McConnell is very, very talented. So I would be fully on board if he returns, and hopefully he could play an important part of our season in this campaign. So that is the end of the squad update, and that is also the end of the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Thank you to the likes of Ozan, Bo, and Dilly Steve. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, in terms of upcoming shows, I will be doing a live watch along for this match tomorrow at 2:55 p.m. as the game starts at 3. And then I'll be doing a match reaction show later in the evening, probably around 11 p.m. So definitely want to look out for. And if you'd like to get involved, feel free to hit the link and you have the platform to come on and have your say. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.